One ordinary train ride, one unexpected stranger, and a conversation that could change everything. Unexpected connections are some of the most powerful experiences we encounter in life because they break the routine of the familiar. Human beings naturally build circles, family, friends, co-workers, neighbors, and we spend most of our time interacting with the same people. But every so often, life places someone completely new in our path, someone we had no intention of meeting and no reason to expect. These moments feel random on the surface, but they often touch us more deeply than we anticipate. An unexpected connection, especially with a stranger on a train, interrupts the rhythm of our day and opens a small window into someone else's world. It reminds us that our stories don't unfold in isolation. They intersect with the lives of countless others, sometimes for seconds, sometimes for hours, and occasionally forever. One of the most remarkable things about unexpected connections is how they remove assumptions. When we interact with those we already know, we often fall into patterns. We expect certain reactions, predict certain behaviors, and assume we understand. They are a stranger, however, enters the moment as a blank page. There is no history, no expectations, and no judgment. This absence of familiarity creates a kind of emotional freedom. People sometimes find themselves sharing thoughts, fears, or memories with a stranger that they would hesitate to share with close friends, not because the stranger is more important, but because the lack of shared past gives the moment a sense of purity. The train becomes a temporary safe space where two lives overlap without the weight of expectation. Another powerful aspect of unexpected connections is the way they force us to refocus our attention on the present. In everyday life, our minds are often racing, thinking about work, responsibilities, or future plans. But when a stranger suddenly strikes up a conversation, or even when a silent exchange of glances or smiles occurs, our attention is drawn back to the immediate surroundings, the hum of the train, the rhythm of the tracks, the strangers sitting nearby. Everything feels more vivid. These spontaneous interactions teach us to slow down, to notice the details we usually overlook. They remind us that life is happening not just within our private thoughts, but all around us, in every person we pass. This heightened awareness often makes the encounter feel meaningful, even if it lasts only a few minutes. Unexpected connections also broaden our understanding of the world in ways we don't always anticipate. A stranger might share a perspective we never considered, offering insight into a different culture, profession, belief, or life experience. In these moments, the train becomes a classroom without walls, where the people around us become teachers by simply being themselves. Maybe the person we meet has overcome a struggle we've never faced. Maybe they have traveled to places we've never visited. Maybe they hold values that challenge our assumptions or reinforce our own. Whatever the case, these encounters produce learning, not the kind found in textbooks, but the kind shaped by real human experience. Such awareness expands our mental horizons, encouraging us to approach life with more curiosity, more empathy, and more humility. There is also something profoundly human about the spontaneity of meeting someone unexpectedly. In a world increasingly dependent on schedules, algorithms, and digital interactions, it is easy to feel as though everything is planned or controlled. Yet an unexpected connection reminds us that life still contains elements of unpredictability, beautiful, organic moments that we cannot script. These encounters often linger in memory because they stand out against the backdrop of routine. You may forget the many predictable conversations in your week, but you might remember the stranger who told you about their journey across countries, or the student who shared their dreams, or the elderly passenger who recounted a lifetime of wisdom in a simple conversation. These unplanned moments feel authentic because they are not manufactured. They unfold naturally, guided only by the presence of two people sharing the same space for a brief moment in time. Finally, unexpected connections teach us something about the interconnectedness of humanity. In meeting someone new without warning, we realize how small the world can feel. A person you meet on a train may unknowingly offer exactly the encouragement you needed, or the reminder you didn't know you were searching for. They may reflect a part of yourself back to you, your hopes, your struggles, your resilience, in ways that feel strangely comforting. These moments reassure us that, despite differences in age, culture, background, or beliefs, There are universal human experiences that bind us together. A stranger may have walked a different path, but their emotions, joy, fear, hope, loneliness echo our own. These echoes connect us, even if our meeting lasts only as long as the journey itself. And when the train stops and the paths diverge, the impression of that unexpected connection often remains, a quiet reminder that our lives are constantly shaped by the people we never planned to meet. Shared journeys have a unique way of connecting people, even if they begin as complete strangers. When individuals find themselves traveling in the same direction, occupying the same space, and experiencing the same environment, a subtle bond forms between them, even without a single word spoken. A train ride is more than just transportation. It is a temporary world where different lives, backgrounds, and personalities converge. Each person has their own destination and reason for being on that train, yet for a short stretch of time, their stories run parallel. This alignment creates the perfect atmosphere for human connection, woven from the threads of shared surroundings and a common journey. Part of the magic of sharing a journey is the sense of being part of something bigger than oneself. You may be sitting quietly, reading a book, or looking out the window, while the stranger beside you scrolls through their phone or gazes at the passing scenery. Even in the silence, there is a collective rhythm. Everyone on that train is suspended between where they were and where they're going, physically moving together toward their individual destinations. This shared pause in the flow of life encourages reflection. It strips away some of the boundaries that normally separate us, making it easier to sense the humanity of the people around us. In this temporary space, passengers are no longer isolated individuals. They become fellow travelers, sharing the same moment in time. There is an unspoken understanding that forms among people sharing a journey, especially in confined spaces like trains. You witness each other's tiny human moments, the yawn of someone waking early, the tired eyes of someone returning from work, the excitement of a child seeing the world rush by outside the window. These little glimpses into the lives of those around us create a sense of familiarity even without conversation. It's these small, authentic details that soften the walls between people. When we see these everyday expressions, we are reminded that strangers around us are experiencing life just as deeply and personally as we are. Shared journeys humanize everyone involved, turning a train full of strangers into a quiet tapestry of interconnected lives. Another significant aspect of shared journeys is that they create common ground where none previously existed. Two people may come from completely different backgrounds, different cultures, ages, professions, beliefs. But once they are seated side by side on a train, they share the same route, the same scenery, the same stops, and sometimes even the same challenges. A delayed train, a crowded carriage, or a sudden announcement creates a moment of collective experience. People might exchange a knowing smile, a sigh, or a short comment, and suddenly, strangers find themselves understanding each other perfectly. These small interactions can be surprisingly powerful because they arise naturally from the shared situation, not from any deliberate attempt to spark conversation. The journey itself becomes the bridge that connects them. Shared journeys also encourage people to let their guard down. In everyday routines, individuals often maintain emotional distance, surrounded by the busy tasks of work, home, or responsibilities. But during travel, especially on trains, people tend to enter a more reflective, open state. The motion of the train, the rhythm of the tracks, and the passing scenery create an atmosphere conducive to thought and conversation. The shared experience of movement, the sense of being in transition opens a psychological space for connection. Passengers may feel more comfortable asking a question, sharing an observation, or simply offering a friendly gesture. This openness is strengthened by the understanding that the connection is limited to the duration of the journey. Knowing the moment is temporary can make people more willing to speak honestly, listen genuinely, and engage without fear of long-term obligation. Finally, shared journeys remind us that life itself is a series of parallel paths, intersecting and diverging in unexpected ways. Sitting beside someone on a train mirrors the broader truth that, for brief moments, our lives align with those of others. Some encounters are fleeting, lasting only a few stops. Others linger in memory far longer than expected. But each shared journey teaches us something. That even in the vastness of the world, our paths cross for reasons we may never fully understand. The people we travel alongside, whether silently or through conversation, become part of our story, even if only for a short distance. And in recognizing the shared nature of our journeys, we begin to understand that connection is always possible, even between those who start as strangers. Every person we encounter carries a story far deeper and more complex than anything we can see on the surface. From the outside, a stranger on a train might appear ordinary. Someone quietly scrolling on their phone, someone lost in thought, or someone staring out the window. But behind that simple moment exists an entire lifetime. Memories, struggles, dreams, victories, heartbreaks, and experiences that shaped who they are. This realization is powerful because it reminds us that no one is ever just a face in the crowd. Every stranger embodies a novel's worth of chapters we may never read. The recognition that everyone has a story teaches us to approach others with greater curiosity, humility, and compassion, understanding that what we see is only a fraction of what exists. When people reveal even a small part of their story, it quickly becomes clear how much depth lies beneath the surface. A quiet person might be carrying the weight of a recent loss. A cheerful passenger might be masking a difficult past. Someone who seems distracted might be thinking about an important decision, a loved one, or a challenge waiting at their destination. These details, when shared, instantly transform the way we perceive them. The stranger becomes a human being with real emotions, real struggles, and real hopes. This is why short conversations on trains often feel surprisingly meaningful. They offer glimpses into stories that we would never have imagined on our own. Even a single anecdote or sentence can reveal an entire world we didn't know existed. The beauty of recognizing that everyone has a story is that it encourages empathy. When we realize that each stranger carries invisible burdens and unseen experiences, we become more patient and understanding. That person who seems irritable may be dealing with something overwhelming. That person who appears anxious may be on their way to a crucial appointment or a life-changing moment. That person who starts talking might simply be seeking connection after a lonely day. Understanding the depth of people's stories helps us respond with kindness rather than judgment. It reminds us that we rarely know the full context of someone's behavior. A small act of empathy, offering a seat, sharing a smile, showing patience, might be exactly what a person needs in that moment, even if we never learn why. Everyone's story is shaped by experiences that are often invisible to others, but deeply meaningful to the person living them. Some people carry stories of hardship, childhood challenges, health struggles, lost dreams, or painful memories. Others carry stories of resilience, achievements, or moments of unexpected joy. Many carry both. These stories influence how they speak, how they behave, and how they move through the world. When we acknowledge this, we gain a deeper appreciation for the diversity of human experience. A simple train ride becomes a gathering of countless histories, stories from different regions, cultures, backgrounds, and generations, all sitting side by side in a single space. It becomes clear that each person's life journey is unique, shaped by circumstances and events we may never witness. Another important aspect of understanding that everyone has a story is realizing how much we can learn from others. Even a brief interaction with a stranger can offer wisdom we never expected. Someone may share a life lesson learned through years of struggle. Another might express a hope that resonates with our own dreams. Someone's experience might mirror a challenge we are currently facing, offering perspective or comfort. These shared stories remind us that human experiences, though diverse, often connect in surprising ways. When we listen, we gain insight not only into their lives but into our own. We begin to see how interconnected our journeys truly are, and how much value lies in the stories of the people around us. Ultimately, recognizing that everyone has a story transforms the way we engage with the world. Instead of seeing strangers as background figures in our day, we start seeing them as individuals with full and vibrant lives. We become more open to conversation, more receptive to connection, and more aware of the richness of the human experience. Even if we never speak to them, the simple knowledge that each person carries a deep and meaningful story encourages a more compassionate, thoughtful way of moving through life. This mindset turns ordinary moments, like sitting beside a stranger on a train, into opportunities to appreciate the complexity and beauty of the people who cross our path, even if only for a brief moment. Small moments are often overlooked, yet they carry a quiet power that shapes our days in ways we don't always recognize. In a world that celebrates big achievements, dramatic turning points, and life-changing events, it's easy to forget that the smaller, fleeting experiences often leave the deepest impressions. A brief smile from a stranger on a train, a short conversation, or even the simple exchange of a polite gesture can shift our mood, brighten our day, or remind us of the kindness that still exists in the world. These tiny interactions act like sparks, small but capable of lighting something much larger within us. They may last only seconds, but the emotions they create can linger long after the moment has passed. One of the most beautiful aspects of small moments is that they happen unexpectedly. You could be having a difficult morning, running late, or feeling overwhelmed, and then a stranger on the train offers you their seat, or helps you with your bags, or simply acknowledges your presence with a nod. Suddenly, the weight you are carrying feels a little lighter. These moments don't require deep conversation or close relationships. They happen naturally, without planning or intention. Their impact comes from their simplicity. The fact that someone who owes you nothing chooses to show kindness makes the gesture even more meaningful. In those small seconds, the world feels a bit gentler, and you feel a little less alone. Small interactions also have the power to alter our perspective. When we are caught up in stress, frustration, or routine, a small moment of human connection can bring us back to the present. It can break the cycle of negative thoughts, remind us to pause, and help us see the bigger picture. A stranger's laughter might lighten the atmosphere. A child's excitement at the passing scenery might remind us of the innocence we once had. An elderly person's patience might inspire us to slow down. These tiny experiences can subtly influence our attitudes, guiding us to think more positively or more openly. Though they may not solve major problems, they shift the emotional tone of our day. And sometimes, that shift is exactly what we need. Another powerful element of small moments is that they ripple outward. A small act of kindness or connection can inspire us to treat others the same way. If someone smiles at us, we are more likely to smile at the next person we meet. If someone helps us, we feel encouraged to help someone else. These small gestures form a chain reaction, spreading warmth far beyond the original moment. On a train, one passenger helping another can change the mood of an entire carriage. People sit up straighter, relax, pay more attention to one another. This ripple effect reminds us that we are all capable of influencing the environment around us, not through grand actions, but through the tiniest of choices. A single small moment can start a wave of positivity that reaches many people we will never meet directly. Small moments also matter because they are often the most memorable. We tend to remember the moments that touch our emotions, and emotions are frequently stirred by small, authentic interactions. You may forget the details of your entire week, but remember the stranger who complimented your work bag, or the person who shared an umbrella with you on a rainy platform, or the passenger who noticed you looked tired and offered support with a simple, "Are you okay?" These memories stay with us precisely because they were unexpected and sincere. They stand out against the background noise of routine life. The smallest moment can become a story you tell years later, not because it was grand, but because it was real. Ultimately, small moments matter because they remind us of our shared humanity. In a fast, moving world where people often rush past one another without acknowledgement, small interactions reconnect us to what is truly important: kindness, connection, understanding, and presence. They show us that even in brief encounters, we have the ability to touch someone's heart or be touched by theirs. A train ride filled with strangers becomes a reminder that our lives intersect in countless tiny ways. Each small moment, whether a gesture, a conversation, or a simple act of awareness, carries the potential to make a difference. And though the moment may fade, the feeling it creates remains, proving that even the smallest experiences can shape the way we view ourselves, others, and the world. Modern life has created a strange paradox. We are more connected than ever through technology, yet many people feel more isolated than at any other time in history. Despite living in crowded cities, riding packed trains, and sharing public spaces, individuals often move through their days enclosed in invisible emotional bubbles. Headphones in, eyes on screens, minds occupied. We coexist without truly connecting. This isolation isn't always chosen. It can be a side effect of fast-paced living, constant digital distractions, or the pressure to stay focused on personal goals. However, moments with strangers, especially in shared spaces like trains, offer a rare opportunity to break through these barriers. A simple interaction, even a brief acknowledgement, can interrupt the loneliness that quietly lingers beneath the surface of modern life. One of the reasons modern isolation feels so strong is that technology gives us the illusion of connection. We spend hours scrolling through updates, messages, and notifications, believing we are engaging with the world. Yet many of these interactions lack the warmth and authenticity of face-to-face communication. While technology is incredibly useful, it often replaces genuine human contact with digital shadows of relationships. A train full of people absorbed in their phones becomes a symbol of this silent separation, physically close, emotionally distant. That is why a moment of real human engagement on a train stands out so vividly. It breaks through the digital haze and reminds us that the world around us is full of living, breathing people with real emotions. Breaking modern isolation does not require long conversations or deep emotional exchanges. Sometimes the smallest forms of contact, a smile, a shared glance, a brief question, are enough to break the feeling of being disconnected. On a train, these small signals often happen naturally. Someone may lift their eyes from their screen to let another person sit, or help a struggling passenger with a suitcase. These moments shatter the quiet walls people build around themselves. They remind us that we exist not as isolated figures, but as part of a larger community. This sense of community is especially important in cities, where people often feel lost among the crowds, unsure of who to trust or speak to. A simple shared moment restores a sense of belonging. Another powerful aspect of breaking modern isolation is that it can restore our understanding of empathy. When people live in emotional isolation for long periods, they become more guarded, more cautious, and sometimes more indifferent. Conversations with strangers, however brief, reintroduce the human element that algorithms and screens cannot provide. A stranger's voice, expression, tone, or story can remind us of the warmth and complexity of human interaction. These experiences encourage us to step outside our digital routines and reconnect with the physical world. This doesn't mean abandoning technology. It simply means balancing it with real life moments that nourish emotional well-being. Shared spaces like trains become natural environments for breaking isolation because they bring people together without forcing connection. Passengers share the same space, the same motion, and the same temporary destination. This shared experience creates a subtle sense of unity. Even if people don't speak, they breathe the same air, hear the same announcements, and feel the same movement of the carriage. These shared moments quietly counter the loneliness that can build up from constant digital immersion. And when interaction does happen, a brief conversation, a simple laugh, or even shared frustration during a delay, it can lift the emotional atmosphere of the entire space. Suddenly, the train feels less like a collection of isolated individuals and more like a temporary community. Ultimately, Breaking modern isolation is not only about connecting with others, it is also about reconnecting with ourselves. When we engage with strangers, we rediscover social confidence, emotional awareness, and the joy of spontaneous interaction. We remember that human beings are meant to communicate, share, and relate. Isolation grows strongest in silence, but it weakens in the presence of genuine human contact. A single moment on a train, a brief exchange, a thoughtful gesture, a friendly interaction, can remind us of what it means to be part of the human world. It becomes clear that connection does not require familiarity. Sometimes, all it takes to break the loneliness of modern life is one unexpected moment shared with a stranger. Embracing possibility begins with recognizing that every moment has the potential to unfold in unexpected and meaningful ways. In daily life, people tend to fall into predictable routines, moving from one task to another with a sense of familiarity and control. Trains, however, disrupt this pattern. They place us in situations where paths cross with strangers, people we would likely never meet otherwise. Sitting beside someone unknown creates a moment filled with potential. Anything could happen. A conversation, a shared observation, a meaningful exchange, or even silent understanding. When we embrace possibility, we allow ourselves to remain open to these unplanned moments, understanding that life's richest experiences often arise from situations we never anticipated. Being open to possibility also means resisting the instinct to close ourselves off from the unfamiliar. Many people avoid interactions with strangers out of habit or hesitation, fearing awkwardness or uncertainty. However, once someone chooses to look up, smile, or acknowledge the person beside them, the barrier between strangers softens. On a train, this openness can create surprising connections. A simple comment about the weather, the scenery, or the pace of the train might lead to a deeper conversation. And while not every interaction turns into a profound exchange, the willingness to engage is itself an act of embracing the unknown. It shows that we recognize the potential in every encounter, no matter how brief or ordinary. When we embrace possibility, we acknowledge that new experiences can teach us something valuable. Every person we meet brings a different perspective shaped by unique experiences we may never have imagined. A stranger on a train might have wisdom gained from travel, stories shaped by challenges, or insights drawn from their work or passions. These conversations, even the short ones, can offer lessons or reminders that stay with us. The most unexpected people can inspire us, motivate us, or challenge the way we see the world. By keeping our hearts and minds open, we give ourselves the chance to grow from every interaction. Possibility becomes a doorway to learning, not through textbooks or lectures, but through real human stories shared in passing moments. Another important dimension of embracing possibility is recognizing how these moments can influence our emotional well-being. When people limit themselves to routine, life can start to feel predictable and monotonous. Unexpected interactions break that monotony, adding color and surprise to an otherwise ordinary day. A conversation with a stranger might brighten someone's mood, offer comfort, or inspire reflection. These moments remind us that joy can come from simple, natural encounters. The possibility of connection, however small, can lift the spirit, create a sense of belonging, and restore optimism. The unpredictability of human connection becomes something to look forward to rather than avoid. Embracing possibility also means accepting that not every encounter needs to lead to something grand. Some connections last only a few minutes, yet they leave a quiet impact. Others may continue beyond the train ride, turning into friendships or memorable experiences. But regardless of their duration, each interaction carries meaning. The beauty of embracing possibility lies in appreciating the experience itself, without attaching expectations. It is about recognizing that every encounter has value, even if it lasts only a moment. When we adopt this mindset, we begin to see the world as more open, friendly, and filled with opportunities for connection. Uncertainty becomes less intimidating and more exciting. Ultimately, embracing possibility means trusting that life often gives us more than we expect if we allow it to. A stranger on a train is never just a random passerby. They represent the countless opportunities life offers for discovery, understanding, and connection. Each shared space, each moment of closeness, and each exchange holds the potential to shape our thoughts or feelings in meaningful ways. When we stay open to the unexpected, we invite new experiences into our lives. We begin to understand that possibility is not something distant or rare. It exists everywhere, even in the quiet company of a stranger, as the train moves steadily forward. This openness transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary opportunities, reminding us that life's greatest connections often begin in the places we least expect. In the end, the story of strangers on a train is really the story of life itself, a series of journeys, fleeting encounters, and shared moments that shape who we are. Each connection, each conversation, each smile carries the potential to teach, to inspire, and to remind us of our shared humanity. From unexpected connections to the recognition that everyone has a story, from the small moments that matter to the power of breaking isolation, and from shared journeys to embracing possibility, these experiences show us that the world is richer and more connected than it often seems. So, the next time you find yourself sitting beside a stranger on a train, take a moment to look up, to listen, and to engage. You may discover a new perspective, a fleeting friendship, or simply a reminder that even in a world full of unknowns, human connection is never out of reach. Life, after all, is not just about the destinations we reach, but about the people we meet along the way. And sometimes the most meaningful encounters happen when we least expect them.